What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to another spoiler discussion here on my channel. Been a while since I've done one of these. And guys, we're going to be talking about my favorite horror film of the years by far. That is The Black Phone. Directed by Scott Derrickson, starring Ethan Hawke as the grabber. Oh boy, we got some stuff to discuss today about this movie right here. But you guys may remember this guy from my Hidden Gems stream. He's a great content creator, great with Suit Up Geeks, and proud co-host. My boy Loretto, what's going on, man?
Good morning. I know it's afternoon for you now, but I slept in. I was having a wild time last night at a good friend of mine's wedding, but I'm here. I'm ready to talk shop, man. I agree. I think The Black Phone was a very strong effort from Scott Derrickson, and if anyone hasn't seen it, just please go run and see it. I would agree. I think it is the best horror film of the year.
Yeah. Um, I mean, this was my most anticipated horror film of the year, so I was just like, all right, let's see what we got in store here today. So when I walked into it, I was like, please, please, please be good. And what did I walk out with? A freaking excellent horror movie. So, but yeah, but also some people should probably lower their expectations when they go in. Don't go in expecting like this big gigantic scare fest because you're not going to get that.
Definitely. And quick little plug. I actually report and write for the Cinema Spot. Check us out at thecinemaspot.com. I wrote a review for The Black Phone, and that was my main like point or gist of my review was that it was a really, really effective atmospheric thriller, but it was a little bit lacking in the scares. Like if anyone walks into this expecting sinister is gonna be a little bit disappointed for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like because the thing with Scott Derrickson is like he has very limited scares. Like he doesn't just um, he's not like those crappy Blumhouse directors that just continuously throw in jump scares all over the place. Or heck, even like in Blair Witch, like when like somebody just goes up to the camera and goes, "Hey," and it's just like, what's the point of that?
Right.
Like the scares in The Black Phone honestly have a more valid point, like because they're obviously the killer's previous victims and the grabber himself.
Yeah. No, and I
So
think I appreciate that, Scott Derrickson takes his time, and I think that added to the suspense when it comes, and then, like you said, he doesn't, like, give us an abundance of scares, but he gives us a couple really good ones. There was, like, 2 moments where it really got under my skin a little bit, got me nervous, got me on the edge of my seat. I jumped a little bit a couple spots, but I like that he didn't overdo it. As you said, a lot of modern horror directors think like, "Oh, let me just jump scare you to death and you're gonna get scared." It's like that's not what horror is about. And some fantastic horror films don't even have jump scares. They just get under your skin. They get you nervous. They get you, in the mood of whatever the situation is. Like some films just do the right things without jump scaring you to death. So this was one of them.
exactly. Yep. They just like try to copy off of 1978 Halloween, but then just like throw music into the mix, and it's just like, okay, you're really overstaying your welcome here.
Yeah.
Like that was actually one of my issues with the new Scream was that the score got a little bit overbearing at times because if you guys remember that one scene with what's the kid's name? So basically when he was going into the fridge, getting some stuff out for sushi, um, Wes. Now I got it. Wes. So basically, when it was opening the fridge, the music just like kept playing and like just flashing in, and it was just like, okay, really? There's nothing coming out there. Like, what's the point?
Well, I mean, for me, for that particular film, though, it was playful, and I didn't mind that, and that's kind of what that franchise is predicated on. So,
Yeah,
it works for that film. But I totally see what you're saying. When sometimes less is more, and I think Scott Derrickson definitely showed that with the Black Phone for sure.
yeah, and also the thing is, like, he doesn't like get into the concept like right away, like when Benny's kidnapped. Like, it kind of shows like the stuff that goes on with his life at school and his life at home that with his sister Gwen is abusive father, which that scene that scene when his father whips Gwen with a belt, like, oh my god, dude, like I wanted to cry, like.
Yeah, very effective scene, and it was so well acted through. Forgive me, what is her name? She did a wonderful job.
Madeline McGraw.
Yes, she was so good.
Yeah, like she's really up for the task with this one, like because of her emotional like ranges that she gets to explore with this character.
And in some
And
ways, she's the heart of the story.
yeah, agreed. But also, you can't forget these kids have potty mouths, dude. They do. Like it reminds me a lot of the kids of Stand By Me, like because like they're actually it's like I see where you're doing. I see what you're doing.
Yeah, no,
So
that era was such a fun time, and if you think about it, I mean, like, no internet, no cell phones, they grow up kind of fast. They have to like kind of like learn to depend on each other, and like he established that world really well. Like his little world building for that town, for that family, for the brother sister dynamic. I think Derrickson did a really good job in making us care. Because if this kid gets kidnapped and we don't care about him, it would have been an awful movie. It would have been a terrible, terrible thing to watch. Just like, oh, who's this kid? Why do I care? But we really got to know Finn, and we got to figure out that he's an outcast. Kids don't like him at school. His only friend seems to be his sister and the other outcasted kid that just so happens to beat everybody up. So I really like the storytelling here. Correct me if I'm wrong. C. Robert Cargill co-wrote this with Derrickson, right?
yes.
And they did a fantastic job. They wrote really, really relatable, natural characters for us to share the emotions with.
Yeah, I mean, like, and plus this isn't a character like where he's just like when he gets kidnapped, he's not just sitting in his misery the whole time. Like he reminded me a lot of Paul Sheldon from Misery, like where he just really wants to get out of the situation. Like he's not just sitting there dwelling on his misery, just being like, oh my god, I can't even do anything anymore. He actually wants to get out, and once he starts receiving calls from the phone, they're actually really trying to help him. And
Yeah,
I'm
no, and I
just like,
really like that. I mean, that's some of the best ghost stories when you're not really scared of the ghosts. You're kind of just like sympathizing with them, and I think that's such a it's classic trope in horror, but when it's done correctly, it's really beautiful.
of course, yeah. And like, but we cannot go throughout this stream and not talk about Ethan Hawke as the grabber. We like when I saw his mask when I originally saw the poster for this movie, I was just like, whoa, I see a new killer on our hands. Like I was ready to see like what he was up for. Like and him coming back with Scott Derrickson, I was just like, you don't need to say anything else.
And huge, huge, huge kudos and shouts out to the horror legend Tom Savini, who helped design some of the various masks. And it's something in itself when the mask, like you said, the mask alone just creeps me out. Like it's such a creepy design, and it's like the fact that Ethan Hawke himself really brings it to life is what really shines for me. I think it's a iconic performance from Ethan Hawke. He just the way he stands, the way he looks at Finn, the way he like slowly comes into the room, like he's just so creepy, and he really delivers underneath the mask as well with his eyes and his body language. Like it's
Yeah,
really good.
yeah, especially that scene like when he's bringing Finny breakfast for the second time in the movie. He's like, "Tell me your name," and he literally lies to the grabber just to trick him. So he drops the food on the ground, and you can obviously hear a plate break. So basically, because it's obviously on concrete floors, he walks up. You can see a newspaper in his armpit, so he takes it out, and then he opens the newspaper and is like, "I was really starting to like you, Finny. I
Creepy,
almost let you go."
straight chills.
I know. I was just like, holy crap, dude. I can tell this guy really wanted to let him go, but apparently he lied, so he couldn't let him go.
Right. No, and that's an interesting thing when obviously the guy's deranged, but he's giving the kid an out and he's just wondering like, will this kid do the right thing? So it's
And actually tell me his name. Like,
yeah, it's such an interesting thing to like if Finn only knew, like, maybe if I would have just told him my name, I could have got out of here.
yeah, you could blindfold me, drop you off on the street, and I'll just walk home. Yeah, like, and if you don't like, if people don't know this about the movie, his masks often change.
Yes. I
Depending on his
love that.
mood, but underneath the mask is only one expression, basically with his face. His actual face is just one expression, but the masks change only depending on his mood. Like
I
one,
actually really like that.
Yeah, and like because there's obviously the one that you see in the trailer is one where he has completely the mask on with a creepy smiley face that you also see in the poster. There's one where it literally has no mouth on it, which makes it even more creepy. Like, and I'm like, how are we even supposed to talk now, bro?
Yeah. And then
Like,
there's one that's like just sad. It was like a
just a
sad
frowny face,
face one.
like,
I was like, oh. Yeah.
and just like that.
Yeah, it looked like one of those like 16th whatever 17th century, like they have like those statues of like sad like gargoyles and stuff like that, like
Yeah, and then he can actually like even take off the top of his mask, and you see that at one point in the movie, like where he actually has a just a smiley face mask on him, and it's just like, is this a COVID reference? That's
yeah,
what it
honestly
made me think
that
of
was
at
really cool.
points.
I like that the mask was kind of just evolving with how he felt, and I think it really kind of added like to the layers of his character, so
And it didn't make it like as predictable as it could be. Like
right.
it makes it like less predictable. And I remember in the final fight scene, like somebody told me that they didn't understand like why he was freaking out like after his mask got whacked off, and I was just like, I had like a couple theories to myself. One, maybe he didn't like the way he looked, or two, um, maybe he didn't. Maybe it actually revealed his true identity, and he was just like, "Oh my god, no!" Like,
Well, I noticed this goes back to like Phantom of the Opera, even like when Michael Myers has his mask. There's something about characters that get attached to their masks, like it's almost an extension of themselves, and I think emotionally it's like a metaphor like for them hiding from the world, or it shields them from how they really feel or whatever, and then like you take that off and it wrecks them, because that's, to them, the mask is a part of them, or it's hiding something of themselves. And I think that that made a lot of sense for him to act that way when it comes off.
yeah, but the thing I actually noticed when I saw the trailer was that he wasn't wearing a mask the first time he met Benny. It was just all covered in face paint.
Yeah.
Because you could see obviously his mouth was moving, so I was just like, okay, that's not his mask. That is clearly face paint.
Right, and I mean, the face paint was still creepy, to be honest, but, I think that's part of the show, right? He's like, "Hey, I'm a magician. Can you help me to my car?" Or whatever. Well, I can't do his voice that well,
Would
but
you hand me my hat?
right, and it's just like, it's supposed to be disarming, but it's, if I'm being honest, it's like, I would have ran away. I would have been like, "Oh, this, skeleton-looking, whatever, mime-looking guy with a box and a van, I don't know, I'm gone, like, goodbye, no thank you, I'm sorry."
Like essentially, you see black balloons inside, and it's just like, nope, I'm gone.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, the second he says hello, I'm like, "Oh, whoa, what are you?" Ah! Like,
Like the second he just falls out of the van, you're just like, okay, this is screaming bad news already.
right, right.
Because he
But
just
I kinda like that angle, though, because I think most kids are, like, actually inclined to be like, "Oh, do you need help? Are you okay?" Right? So I thought
yeah,
him kinda, like, stumbling and falling over and dropping his things, I thought that was pretty clever.
yeah, and then obviously him losing his hat, so he was just like, would you hand me my hat? And I
Yeah.
was just like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. But obviously, we wouldn't really have a plot if he didn't do it. Like he would just be like, "Okay, you can walk away."
Right.
So yeah, so he handed him this hat, and then it's just like, "I am a part-time magician,
I
bro."
was gonna
That
say
is
you got
just
this script memorized, man.
I do like.
How many times have you seen it?
I've only seen it once in theaters,
Oh,
but
okay. That's
trailers
pretty
really,
good.
but the trailers really helped me remember the most of the dialogue. So,
Okay.
um, but Mason Thames as Finney, though, like he is honestly one of the best child performances I've ever seen in a horror movie. Like, well, not to compare it too much to the kids from It, because they were all obviously perfectly casted. Like, but with this one, I really feel like he's one of the more relatable kids that you can remember in a horror movie.
Yeah, and I think that's part of it. I mean, especially just being trapped with him in that like bleak, cold basement. You end up rooting for him, and I think that, like I was saying earlier, if we didn't weren't connected to Finn, this story wouldn't work, and we'd be bored. But he really nails his portrayal and his slow terror, but also his unraveling of the mystery. I thought that was really cool, and I think that element of him slowly piecing things together, finding ways like getting to the window and like finding out like, oh, I can dig here. And what was he digging for again?
I think he was like digging like to find like a way out. I think it was, but I'm not sure exactly what it is.
Okay. 'Cause
But
I know he found like a
like
soft spot in the wall. Didn't it like open up like another hallway or something like that?
yeah, but then it led to the freezer, and
Right, right. Okay, that's what it was. That's what it was.
yeah, so the hole in the wall basically led to the freezer, and then he dug a hole in the floor so that way, because you guys remember in the final battle, if you've seen it already, that he used it as a way to trick the grabber and actually going into that hole.
Yeah.
And what happens? He goes into the hole, twist right on the ankle, and I was just like, "Oh, that's an easy broken ankle. There's no way you're getting out of that."
Yeah.
So,
No, I
but
love that. And like that at that moment of the film, you're just like, yes, go, go, Finn, run, get out.
get him, kill him dead.
Yeah, what was it? Like step back, swing, like
you
back.
you raise the phone, step back, and swing.
Yeah.
I love
Love
it.
that. And I love that kid. Like they had a cool relationship, even though it was kind of brief, but I like
Yeah,
that like he looked out for him, he could kind of understand being an outcast himself. So
yeah, and the way that he beat up that kid in the first act, bro, like he, I thought I was like, okay, you should be in jail. You literally just first degree murdered this kid.
I
Like,
was gonna say, I was like, I mean, I know bullies suck, but holy crap, that kid's face was like hamburger meat, man.
yeah, and yeah, like his face was completely like all bloody and beat up, and I was just like, yeah, you should be in jail. Like, no
But at the
questions
same
about
time,
it.
though, it's like that kid was pretty awful. I'm not saying he deserved it, but and when
Right.
it first started, it was like, you got what you deserve. But then it like, kept going. I was like, oh my god, oh
Like
my
he was
god.
beating the crap
Like,
out of him, and I was just like, wait, whoa, whoa, whoa.
yeah, I was like, whoa, like that's too much. Yeah, but it's definitely kind of explains that kid's character though, for sure. I mean, he was helping Finn, but he's also kind of like on the crazy side. Like that is not normal.
Like you would usually see like either the principal or something just come up and just stop the fight, but no, like they just have him just like keep on going, beat the crap out of this kid. Like,
Yeah,
you
it was
know, it's
really
just
effective. Honestly, it was like that was jarring in itself before we even got to the real
yeah, for
horror of the
sure.
film. And that, I mean, also and the scene with the father too. It's like, he was scaring us in like different ways. It wasn't even like the true horror of the picture yet, but it was just kind of establishing, Finn's environment, right? So
Yeah, and his home life. It honestly made us feel like why like it kind of relates to some people like that actually have like abusive fathers or any like alcoholic type of fathers. But it kind of reminded me. I'm not gonna lie, it kind of reminded me of the kids from Radio Flyer because their father was a complete alcoholic.
I'm so happy you referenced that picture. That I loved that movie as a kid. And there was
Yeah,
like a young Elijah Wood, right?
yep, and Joseph
Oh,
Mazzello as well.
excellent film.
Yeah, it really did make me think of Radio Flyer at points because because of basically the kids, and basically their father is absolutely an alcoholic and abusive.
And all
So
they have is each other.
exactly, there you go. We're already 20 minutes in, and I've been ignoring the chat. Let's get to the chat right here. Retro Goofy's in the chat. What's going on? My boy Blu-ray King. What's going on? A great physical media collector as well. Go see it, man. Go see The Black Phone. You're missing a lot. And my man Jason Carr is in here. So thank you for stopping by. No need to say that you're late. Also, just all we need to know is that you're here. That's all we need to know. You don't need to know that you're late. Seen The Black Phone once and enjoyed it. My man. So yeah, getting back into it, but also we also gotta talk about like how Finney can communicate with these victims. Like, I like the way that they actually just ring the phone, and the first time they don't even say anything. Like, it's just complete silence, and it's just like, where'd he go?
Well, off bat, I feel like that was such like that premise is the hook, right? I didn't watch all of the trailers because if I'm being fair, most of the trailers for this film kind of give away the whole movie. But the first initial like teaser trailer, I guess, that was like shorter, that really got me. And I think the idea that this phone's not connected to anything, like you could see like the phone lines like cut off or ripped off or whatever, and it's like that's what really makes this interesting. That added like supernatural effect that's like not overbearing, but it's like it's intriguing. It's like, wow, what is happening with this phone? It makes you kind of want to know more, right? So
Yeah, because like then the grabber comes in and it's just like, doesn't work.
right.
Hang it up. Because he has the phone in his hand and it's just like, how does it not work? And then it's just like, you see the cables cut and it's just like, uh-oh. Oh no. So that's why he comes in and it's just like, hang it up. Yeah. And that's the first time you actually see the grabber with his mask on in the movie. Like,
Yeah.
which, again, dude, I can't get over the look of his mask. I can't get over it. It's so freaky.
So good.
And let's see. I'm trying to think of another good plot point to talk. Let's see. Like when Gwen goes into the office, basically she's called with the police. Talking about like the dream that she had with the man about the black balloons. Yeah, she starts cussing them out, and I'm just like, I don't blame you. I don't blame you for doing that.
Yeah, well, even in the 70s, I think there's a thing where like you don't have your complete trust in cops. You're like, I don't know what these people really want from me. Like, and cops too are like, they're generally cold characters, like, and they have to be, right? I mean, they
Right.
can't have their hearts open to every single victim or suspect, they have to play it straight, play it, like these are the facts, these are our questions, they have to kind of be that way. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I definitely feel like they were kind of dicks, actually, if I remember correctly. So I think they had that
Yeah.
coming.
Like, they were not helpful in the slightest before, but like
Right.
until like they get to the end of the movie, and then they find out that there's a second house that actually where the grabber actually keeps his victims buried. Like, I was like, okay, now I see you guys. Now you're actually being helpful this time. Like,
And the way that was written, that was a really cool twist. It's like, oh my god, there's another house, like especially when like you're like rooting for the cops to find Finn and then realizing like they're not in the same house. Like, look,
oh,
that
yeah,
was such a good twist.
yeah. But then some of my friends are just like, we've been waiting for something big to happen, and then just nothing happened. And I was just like, that's the twist. Like, like,
I was gonna say, I feel like, especially because the film doesn't have a long runtime, right? And then we
yeah,
take a lot of time before Finn even gets kidnapped. But I feel like once he does, it's a good solid like 40, 50 minutes of suspense and tension, like, you know what I mean? Like, so I think whenever you watch a good horror film, it's always that way, like a good 30, 40 minutes of just intensity, right? But it's like you can't do that for 2 hours. and you
Right.
have to build up to those 20-30 minutes of tension, right? So it's kind of like winding up a, like with the ropes and the wheel, and you kind of pull the wheel and then it gets tighter on you. Like, that's what good horror films do. I think, when you're in it, that's the sell, that's the horror. And then it's like you can't get to the climax and think, oh, well, that's it. It's like, well, no, for 30 minutes you've been nervous about this kid and he got out. So it's like something did happen, It's like, so I don't
Yeah.
understand that stance, but I thought the effectiveness of the suspense was done really well for its short runtime. I mean, what's it, like 90 minutes maybe,
I
or
think
so,
it's
give or
about like
take?
100 minutes, I think.
Oh, 100 or so. Yeah, it was really short, but in that time frame, when you're in it, 10 minutes is a long time, and you're like nervous, and
Yeah.
the grabber's there, and or when Finn is coming up the stairs,
Yep.
that was good. I mean, that was like a 3-4 minute scene, but he's like slowly walking up the stairs. You
Got to
see the
slowly creep.
grabber,
Don't
like,
wake him up. Like
yes, like you
he
see
was
him
all
asleep,
asleep.
but you're like, it's like, oh my god, don't breathe, like, don't, like,
Yeah, and then all of a sudden he unlocks the combination lock that's on the storm door, and then Samson barks, and I'm just like, oh crap, no, move, 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 get out of there!
right, and
And
that's that
he
edge of the
finally
seat
gets
kind
out,
of
but
like
then
makes you squirm,
yeah, and he finally gets out, and it's just like, uh-oh, the grabber's not giving up. He's gonna come back and get him. So, and he does, but then all the lights in the neighborhood turn on. And it's just like, you better be quiet. And it's just like, uh-oh, don't say nothing. And then boom, all the lights are off.
Yeah.
But also the thing that really did not came out of nowhere for me was when the grabber literally murdered his brother, like out of nowhere. Like,
Yeah, I think that was probably the minus the twist, that was like the second most surprising moment because it just shows how cold the grabber is. Like you thought initially that was like his like weakness, like, oh, he cares about his brother, he's taking care of his brother, and then he just like turned on him on a dime. Like, that was, yeah, shocking, definitely shocking.
yeah, because like his brother was trying to help Finn get out of the basement,
Yeah.
like he was talking to him, and then all of a sudden the door opens, and then boom, right in the
Look
back of
what
the
you
head.
made me do. I was
He's
like,
like,
holy
look
shit.
what you made me do. You made me murder my brother. He was an idiot, but he was my idiot. That's what makes it even more creepier. Was like
Yeah.
calling your brother an idiot, but saying he was your idiot. Like, and I was just like, bro, then
So
why'd you kill
deranged.
him?
Like, yeah, and it's like you could tell he cared about him, but he also like was so easily ready to just end him.
Like, and because like he was getting annoyed by him talking to Finney because he was helping him,
Yeah.
and it's just like, boom, he dead for real now. And I was just like, wait, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, because I saw in the trailers that he had blood all over his face, and I was just like, did he murder cops or something? And then
Right. Like you wonder whose blood it is, right?
yeah, and then I was watching the movie, and then I watched the movie, and I was like, okay, that explains everything.
Yeah.
But some people were just just being so predictable on it at points. Just like the way that they shot it made it look so predictable that the grabber was just going to come and just boom. And I'm just like, okay, like he did it that way just so that way you could like you don't think the grabber is going to come, but then when the door widely opens, he's right there.
No, but also like we didn't know, or at least personally, I didn't know how he was gonna react. So I'm not sure how, you could. I mean, maybe some people saw it coming, but for me, it's like it was a mystery to me what he was gonna do. Like, even when you see the door open, and it's like it kind of adds to the moment. Like you're like, what's he gonna
Yeah,
do? And then, like,
what's gonna
bam,
happen now?
yeah, and then it's like, bam, and then his brother's dead, and it's like, whoa, like it just happens, and it just, I thought it was effective. I thought it
Yep.
it did its,
Yeah, and then you see the phone, and then of course you see the phone in Finney's hand. He filled it up with a bunch of dirt,
yeah.
so that way he could hit the grabber with it. And he sees that he has a phone in his hand. He's like, "What? What is it with you in that phone? I told you it doesn't work." So, he's like literally like, because he has an axe in his hand. You can tell he's about to murder Finney. Like,
Yeah.
and so then he calls his dog so that way he can make it really hurt, which makes it a little bit more frightening to me. Like, so then all of a sudden, a big fight starts to go down. Like when the grabber starts to go for his swing at Finney with the axe. All of a sudden, misses somehow. I don't know how you can miss. The kid's too fast. That's what.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they established that he's a pretty athletic kid, right? And he's, even though he's an outcast, like he's a relatively talented pitcher, right? Like that's what his friend was telling him. Like you got a good arm, right? Like, so I
He
thought
got a
that
good
was a
arm.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
I
he
thought
was
that was a fun wrinkle, right? Like he's
because he
not
played
helpless. He's not
baseball,
like a,
so that made a lot of sense.
yeah, like he's not like a weenie, right? So he's able to defend himself. I thought that was cool.
Yeah. So then, like I said, like when the grabber trips over the cable and falls into the hole, twists his ankle, Finney starts to beat the crap out of him before whacking off his mask and then choking him to death with the phone string. And that's how you finally see that the grabber is finally dead. But then so when the phone rings again, he puts it up to the grabber's ear, and then the victims really are actually getting back on him, and it's just like, oh boy.
Yeah, that was awesome. And it was like
Yep.
redemption for all the other kids and kind of letting their souls be at rest, in that moment. I thought that was excellent, really well written.
Yeah, for sure. It's just, quite frankly, it's honestly one of my favorite final fight scenes in a horror movie. Like, because you don't know what the outcome is going to be before, like, they actually go head to head.
Yeah.
Like,
And
man.
being a big fan of Sinister, I was actually concerned that Finn wasn't gonna make it out at all. We were gonna go through all this and he would, like, I was worried that he was just gonna get killed off. I was like, I really didn't know what was gonna happen. So
Yeah, and then they're just going to make it like No Country for Old Men, and then all of a sudden, boom, the grabber wins.
yeah, no, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, and or like, in Sinister, I mean, spoiler alert, nobody survives that film, or at least in the family. They're dead. So it's like,
Yeah.
I knowing that Derrickson has done that before, I knew this kid wasn't safe. So I thought that kind of like plays into our psyche when we're watching. Because in my head, I'm like, this kid's not safe to me. Like, he could totally die. Derrickson's done that before. So
Exactly. Like, you don't think like he could actually survive this, but like after the first time he gets out, it's just like, uh-oh, the grabber got him, so he's just bringing him back to the basement and actually not murdering him, which I found quite shocking, to be honest with you. He actually didn't kill him like after he allegedly escaped. Like he just brought him back to the basement, and I was just like, you couldn't have just killed him.
well, I think that's part of the game, right? I mean, he's obviously doing the keeping him alive for a reason and messing with him in various ways.
Yeah, I get that for sure. But yeah, I think that the way that Scott Derrickson kind of crafts this film and make it like this 1970s film movie, like he did a really good job with it, and I think it's his best movie overall, in my opinion. I know, but that's just me. I think The Black Phone is his best movie by far.
I think there's definitely a leap in like skill level and maturity here that's obvious. Like the way he uses the camera, and shouts out to like the production design, the sound design. And I think that the 70s backdrop is a character in itself too, because this wouldn't, I mean, you probably could do a similar film if he was in a basement with like a Nokia cell phone or something, or like something like that, just from our more modern times. It might work, but there's something about the rotary phone with the way it rings, and the fact that you have to do the spinny thing of the 1 and the 2 and the 3, like that kind of just adds to the character of the basement. And like I think also, like I was referencing earlier, there's no internet, there's no GPS, and it's like, imagine, it really was hard or easy for kids to get lost. Like if a kid goes down the street and trips and falls, if no one sees him fall and he's hurt, he's gonna sit there. He doesn't have a cell phone to be like, help, I broke my leg. You know what I mean? Like, so it's such an interesting time. Like just the fact that the grabber was grabbing several children and it was like putting the town on edge. Like that was something that any small town would be in hysteria over something like that, because how do you stop that? Like, you don't let your kids go to school? You just keep them in the house? Like,
But yeah, and like the way that this character just just comes around to kidnap kids, I'm just like, wait, wait, because one of the kids that Finney played baseball with is the first kid to actually get kidnapped in this movie. Um, he sees the van coming, and then it just fades to black, and I was just like, wait, what? And I'm like, oh, that explains everything now.
yeah, and
He's
it's
dead.
also like, I think what adds to the terror is it's in broad daylight.
Yeah,
Like, the grabber is just getting these kids in broad daylight and getting away with it. Getting, no one knows who he is, where they're at. So
yeah, I agree with that actually. Like, instead of just just doing it at the nighttime, like where everything could be possibly frightening when it's quite frankly not hopeless time it isn't. You actually go in broad daylight and you actually see the character actually kidnapping kids, bringing them back to his basement, and then whenever they do something wrong, dead. That makes it a little bit more frightening, in my opinion.
yeah, and I like that every little glimmer of hope we ever had just kept getting squashed as well. So it just adds to that hopelessness feeling. Like, for example, like when he got out, you're like, yeah, he got out, but then he got caught, and you're like, oh, and it's like you go through like a roller coaster of emotions. And then same thing with the brother. Like, you think, oh, he has help, and then when the brother's dead, it's like that help is gone, and you're like, now what, right? So
Right. Yeah, and after he actually finally gets out of the basement after killing the grabber once and for all, I felt completely satisfied that he finally got out and he didn't have anything that would actually bring him back.
yeah,
So
and I'm really glad that Finn and his sister had that moment. That was really nice as well, especially knowing like what they go through at home aside from the kidnapping, you know what I mean? So lots of emotions when they reunite. I thought that was brilliant.
yeah, and then he goes back to school and then everybody's like, "Hey, it's the kid who got kidnapped. He's finally back." Like,
Right. It has like adds like this little bit of like celebrity to him that's like,
yep,
it's like, oh, he's the kid that survived, right? So get a
and
little
he
some
was the
cool
only
cards
one
pointing
that
to that.
even survived out of the victims. Like,
Right. And imagine too that first kid on his baseball team. He was like a cool kid, right? He was like a popular
yeah,
kid, and so it's like, damn, out of all those kids, Finn was the guy. He was the one that persevered.
yep. And then what? I'm not gonna lie. When the credits started rolling, I gave this movie a round of applause. But guess what? I heard no one around me do that. I was just like, okay, I'll stop. I was like, you people suck.
I know. Well, I mean, I think casual moviegoers go into this. I think that's the misconception, though. I think that I don't know how else they could have marketed this film, but first of all, the trailers, I'm glad I avoided them because when I watched the more recent trailers after I already saw it, in my head, I'm like, yo, these trailers like give away like the whole film. And then like I'm not sure how they could have done that better, but I think the marketing um kind of oversells the film. And also, I think you go into this expecting like a nonstop scare fest, and it's more of a slow burn, actually. It really takes
Yeah,
its time, like I was illustrating earlier. And I think some people probably got disappointed with that.
yeah. When they literally just should have gone in with very low expectations after watching the trailer and being like, okay, this is not just going to be a super scare fest. But then all of a sudden they just go in with those expectations and it's just like, oh, okay,
What also kills me too is some of the jump scares, like there's only two or three. They put it in the trailers, and I'm like, what's the point? Like, why would you do that? Like, there's no surprise. It's like, oh, I remember that scene. Like, so, like with the girl
yeah,
in the corner, and she's doing like the little weird,
like Exorcist kind of pose.
yeah, like that was in the trailer, and it's like, that's a really good moment. It's like ruined. I mean, I didn't see it before the movie, but when I watched it after, I was like, that's terrible. Like, that's a really great moment that's like ruined by being shown too early. So,
Yeah, but like, I don't know. I heard like what broke my heart even more was that I heard students around me clapping after the movie Firestarter was over, and then no one clapped after I clapped for the Black Phone, and I was just like, "Do you guys not know good horror anymore?" Like, oh my god, dude, that just broke me. Like, I didn't even know like what people were even into anymore.
Yeah, well, I think it's the draw of the card, right? So, there was a lot of discussion about Thor: Love and Thunder, and my audience was dead. They
Oh,
weren't really
oh,
laughing at
believe me, mine
jokes.
was too.
It was weird, but then I've heard from other people that some crowds were like into it, laughing, cheering, and stuff. I guess it just really depends. Personally, I hate like non-engaged audiences because for me, whether it's a horror film, whether it's an MCU picture, that really adds to the experience when the audience is engaged and they're into it and they're like reacting and they're like, oh, gasping. And, especially in a horror film, like that's part of it. Like, I like that feeling that I'm scared, but hey, we're all scared. And I love that. We're all like huddled up together, like, oh my God, we're all horrified. And what's going to happen
Yeah,
next? Oh my God, is a killer around the corner? That's part of the experience. So it's unfortunate when the crowd's kind of not feeling it or they're just not in the zone or whatever.
yeah, and then like all of a sudden, a lot of my audience during Jurassic World Dominion were actually pretty engaged. That even some people even started clapping, and I went along with it too because it wasn't bad. Like
Oh, Minions.
Dominion,
Oh, okay. So
I
you were part of the people that like you did you like it?
I did. I actually really enjoyed it.
Nice. Where would you
I
rank it out of the trilogy of the Jurassic World?
I would rank this above. Of course, I would rank it above Fallen Kingdom, like no question, and definitely above Jurassic Park 3. Like I'm one of those people that absolutely hates Jurassic Park 3. Like I don't like that movie at all, dude. I freaking hate it.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's definitely my least favorite. Well, actually, Fallen Kingdom pissed me off too. But what's interesting, and I was gonna write about this, I didn't get a chance to, but how they take somebody like as normally as likable as William H. Macy and someone like Taya Leone, who I loved in Bad Boys, how do you make them the most unlikable, annoying characters in like almost all of cinema? Like they're so annoying, and there's like a section in the film where I'm like, just eat them. Like
Just
somebody,
beat him up.
one of you freaking dinosaurs, just eat Tia Leone and just let's just end the search for this damn kid who was parasailing or whatever the hell he was doing. Like, why was he even doing? I have so many issues with that film.
I do too. I do too, man.
And then William
Oh
H.
my,
Macy with his, oh yeah, me and these two guys with the guns, we're gonna get my kid. Like, are
we
you?
got all the guns here.
You're like one guy you barely know, and then this big tough guy. Like, that's the only guy you got? Sure.
Yeah, and then they have like the all the cast members like reunite in Dominion, like just the original three cast members versus the three new ones, and it's just like that's what I wanted to see the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
and I like that Jeff Goldblum as Ian Malcolm and Sam Neill as Alan Grant. They still got it. And they like picked up like where they left off. They don't really like each other. They kind of butt heads a little bit, and then of course Ian Malcolm's a flirt, right? So he's always like,
yeah,
hitting on
but
Ellie
then
and kind of giving her like the little like it's like
and then that one quote that just completely caught me off guard, and I was just like, where did this come from? Like he slid into my DMs, and I was just like, wait, what is this?
I
What word am
actually
I
didn't
even
mind that line. I thought it was
Oh my god.
I mean, I know some people cringed or whatever. I thought it was adorable. I mean, coming from like Laura Dern and Jeff Goldblum, it tickled me. I was like, I like that. I like that.
Oh my god. Like I don't know, man. I just don't feel like people understand like what good horror is anymore when it comes to films like this. They look at, classical horror movies like Friday the 13th, Halloween, and they expect something like this. Like they expect something like that just to come out of the Black Phone. And it's just like this is more in a psychological horror. Like
Yeah.
that's more like what I want. I want more psychological horror, not just all around slashers. Like
I was gonna say I appreciated too that there was a nuance to it. Like it wasn't that gory at all. Like even the brother's death was pretty tame. Like we didn't really see the full blow. We just saw the blood and the body drop. I kind of appreciated that. It wasn't a gore fest. It wasn't a jump scare fest, and I think that is some of the strengths of the film.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And it's not just like the things that even make it more scary is like not just the stuff that goes on down in the basement, but also the stuff that goes around, with Gwen and her father. Like especially with that belt scene, which again you guys should know about by this point if you've seen it. That was absolutely frightening to say the least. Like,
And I
oh
think
my,
what sells it too is Finn's like look of terror and helplessness because he's just there, but I mean he can't do anything, right? So it's like, so I think that
and you
added to it as well.
and you want to see him do something. You're like, go do something. Either take the belt away from her or call the cops. Like,
Yeah.
but obviously, like he probably would have been a lot more dead if he actually did that. So
Yeah.
like believe me, like if he did that, it'd just be like, oh crap, no, 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 no. Because
Did you think there was any sort of like connection between the fact that like maybe the grabber wasn't all that different from Finn? Like, you see him sitting in the chair when Finn comes up the stairs and he has the belt in his hand. And it makes you wonder, like, maybe the grabber was abused too, and maybe the grabber was
yeah,
bullied
that made me think
too.
the same thing. Like
So maybe that was a really interesting wrinkle in the story, I thought.
yeah, because he's like when he goes up the stairs, you just see him sitting there with the frowny mask, just going like, he has the belt in his hand, and I'm just like, uh oh, like, because you just think like he's just gonna come downstairs and see if Vinny's doing something that he's not supposed to do, and then just beat the crap out of him with that belt, and I'm just like, no, no,
Well, you got to imagine too. Like, I feel like with parenting, whether it's like trauma or whether it's like bad parenting and upbringing on like morals, usually those things carry over, right? So, like,
yeah,
that was my natural like thought was like, damn, maybe he was abused too. So,
yeah, that's good thinking on your part, man. Good thinking, and honestly, another thing that did kind of get me about this movie, but it's pretty much anything like with any adaptation of a story. Um, they did kind of get the grabbers like kind of thing a little bit wrong because Ethan Hawke is a skinny guy, but in the book he was called fat. He was basically a fat guy. So that was the
oh,
thing that kind of
you read the story?
I did read the story. It said it was a fat guy that was the grabber,
Hmm.
but apparently he was hired because of the voice he has, to actually play as this character. And
Yeah.
that was a good change. I'm not gonna lie though, but honestly, like movies change like a lot of things that the books do. Which
Yeah. That's I mean, I feel like some things translate better on film. And visually, if I'm being honest, I liked it. I think it would have looked a little goofy if he was chubby and fat. No, but there was like a bit like there's a scene where like he's just standing there and his shoulders and I think like I think that worked better. I mean, I think he would have looked a little bit more goofy if he was like fat. But
yeah, it would have honestly, like I would have just, I'm not gonna lie, I would have made it like so much comparisons to like Dwayne The Rock Johnson in Central Intelligence, like when he was Fat Robbie, and I was just like, I'd be like, okay, we're not going this route again. Come on.
that's such a odd reference, but I remember that so vividly. And then to be fair, it's not the best movie I've seen, but that was a memorable moment though. Like that was burned into my brain. The big goofy Dwayne Johnson with his like fat like suit, or was it like CGI or I don't know what
I
that
think it
was.
might have been CGI, but I don't know. It might have been a fat suit. I don't know.
No, no, some parts didn't look natural. Like it looked like I don't know,
I
but
don't know, but to me, it kind of looked like one of those like fat suits that you would honestly see in a comedy,
Big Mama's
like
house.
perfect example right there, fat suit for Martin Lawrence. But like, it's just like one of those things like where it looks like Dwayne Johnson's wearing a fat suit when he's all bulk like this, and I'm just like, don't make Dwayne Johnson fat. Come on. Like, but then you decide to kind of ruined that trope with Allison Hannigan in Date Movie. Jesus Christ.
I
You
was
ru-
gonna say I don't even remember that one.
So basically, it's like she was fat at one point, but then they kind of do a Pimp My Ride montage parody where basically they just, it's so gross and it's just like, it just comes in like as offensive in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's just Freeberg and Seltzer, go back to film school, please. Go back to film school. You need to do better. Like,
I would say the fact that they've made so many of those is mind-boggling.
it's just baffling to me that the studio actually agreed for them to actually make those movies, and it's just like, why do you agree with that when they're gonna keep pumping out movies like this?
Yeah.
Like, especially when they pump out something like Meet the Spartans, and it's just like, okay, you crossed the line now.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
I think that was definitely a parody that didn't need to be done, especially like I don't know. I know who asked for a 300 parody and to make it what that was, like it's just lame jokes, low-hanging fruit,
and just
cheap production design.
cheap references too. Also,
Yeah.
like they have like a Gatorade commercial at one point in the movie, and I was just like, okay, no, you, a 3-year-old could have wrote this. Like, I swear to God, dude, like a 3-year-old kid could do better writing that.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, but yeah, guys, we have gotten through a lot of our discussion about the Black Phone. Um, to me, this movie, I don't really have really many complaints with the Black Phone, to be honest with y'all. But before we go, what were some of your negatives with this movie?
To be fair, I wouldn't call it I think it's a solid picture through and through. Like from beginning to end, it's really, really well written. But I think my only thing is minus the jump scares that were revealed in the trailer. I thought there'd be more to the supernatural side of it, but at the same time, it's not really a negative because I think again it was like less is more. Like maybe if we did over explain that, like how the phone works and why the phone works, and if we really over explain things, like I think maybe it might have changed the film. But um, yeah, it was just kind of vague, and
Yeah,
also, in terms, I think it was my fault too because remember we were complaining about audience expectations. I actually am guilty of it as well because I did go into this expecting like my mind to be blown the way that Sinister did. So I think that was a negative more so on my part. I think my expectations were a little too high. It wasn't quite as scary as I thought it was going to be, but as a mystery psychological thriller like we were illustrating, it works. And I think that was my issue, and that's my only complaint is that I wanted it to be scarier, but that's also on me expecting a little bit too much than what the film gave me, I guess. So,
yeah, it makes sense, and it's just like sometimes like when you watch a trailer, you kind of expect a lot more out of it because it actually like gives you so much out of it, and it's just like, okay, I see what they're going for. Let's go with this kind of expectations, and then when you go into it, it's not that way. It's just like, oh, they go in a different route. Like
yeah.
they
And
like
and and also just like precursor to my thoughts, Sinister is one of the scariest films I've ever seen. Like Sinister really got into my bones. Like it got like I was like just hooked, and I was like there with Ethan Hawke with his glass of whiskey and watching these snuff films and figuring out who the hell the what's his name? Uh
the boogeyman is, or
yeah, no, he has a name. It's like this weird demon name, but he's so creepy. But that was my problem. I was expecting that same level, and it's just not quite there, but it's a really good film. Just minus that expectation.
yeah, like take up that expectation level. You pretty much have a fantastic horror movie.
Yeah.
You pretty much got one on your hands. Like, but then when you have but then when you have friends that just like literally just walk out of the theater and say that was like one of the most overhyped horror movies I've ever seen, and I'm just like, then you freaking tell me that Texas Chainsaw is the best horror movie of the year. Get out of here, y'all. Like, because That movie is nothing. There's nothing special about that movie at all. Like, you get one cool kill on the bus, and then boom, the film, which is actually like really towards the end of the movie, but that film just goes nowhere. Like, holy lord.
So it doesn't bring anything to the table. It doesn't establish anything new with the franchise.
What they possibly could have done, but what did they do? They just stay on one track throughout the whole film that obviously is nothing special. They just stay on this one teensy little track, and then after like that buzz scene, the film like it went off the rails for a bit, then it just like goes right back on, and it's just like there was no point, like whatsoever. But hey, I mean, all art is subjective, y'all. Like all art is subjective, so just form your own opinion.
Yeah, and I think that I 100% recommend people to enjoy this. Regardless of my previous expectation, I think it's worth watching for sure.
Agreed, yeah. But just again though, just don't try to expect like this this level of horror, like because that won't happen.
Yeah, it's just like a tier. It's like a notch down below that masterpiece tier, but it's in that solid good tier.
Agreed, for sure. But yeah, guys, those are basically all of our thoughts and talking about spoilers of The Black Phone. I cannot believe we finally did this. But yeah, I am going to be on one of my friends' channels talking about Thor: Love and Thunder in just a little bit. So, and Lo, thank you so much once again for coming on to the channel with me.
Thanks for having me.
Where they can find you.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at Marcellus Durden. I am one of the Suit Up Geeks. You can follow us on Twitter at the Suit Up Geeks. We have lots of fun content. You can find us on YouTube as well. We do movie reviews. We do our movie drafts. We just had our hero draft, which was a blast. A lot of guests and content creators that we collaborate with for those drafts, and it's super fun. So please give us a like and a follow on YouTube as well. And I'm also a proud member of the Cinema Spot, thecinemaspot.com. On Twitter at the Cinema Spot. I have a review for The Black Phone on that website. You can kind of see my thoughts in a written format for that. I go into a lot of detail about what I enjoyed about the picture. So, Suit Up Geeks, Cinema Spot, check us out. Thank you for having me, Luke. It's always a pleasure talking with you, man.
Of course, man. I cannot wait to have you back on the channel again sometime soon. As for me, you can find me on Letterboxd, Instagram, Twitter. Of course, subscribe to my channel. Of course, I got more content coming up here fairly soon. I will be doing live reviews for Get Out and Us to prepare for Nope, Jordan Peele's latest movie. Which I'm super excited for. I cannot wait for that. And also live reviews in one culminating with Minions: The Rise of Gru, Elvis, and Memory coming up here this week, and also special watch along this week with Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness. So if you guys want to stop by, watch the movie with us here on Disney Plus, don't be afraid to, because we're gonna have some fun going into the multiverse. So can't wait to bring that to you guys. So, but anyways, y'all, thank you so much for watching, and thank you once again to Lo for joining me here on this stream talking about easily the best horror film of the year. But we'll see what Nope has to deliver. We'll see about that. So. But anyways, guys, subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up. Also share this video if you guys want to, show your friends, us talking about these movies with all. So anyways, guys, once again, thank you so much for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe. See you next time.